Is it on? All right. I can't start the video. I'm going to start the video like this. What is up, folks? We are looking at the Marvel Cinematic Universe today. I am going to throw it into a tier list. We're starting at Iron Man, and we're ending at Spider-Man No Way Home. There's not going to be any TV shows. It's just going to be straight up movies. And honestly, outside of this time period between Iron Man and No Way Home, I haven't really seen that many movies, or I haven't seen any of the TV shows, so I'm just going to stick to what I know and tier list these films. Let's get right into it. We've got Avengers Infinity War. S. Easy. I can't yeah, it's an S. Look, this whole series has been building for such a long time, and they figured out a satisfying way to make everybody feel useful. The battles are epic. I mean, just like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. It's just good. They somehow found a way to disconnect everything into different stories, but it still all somehow felt together. And it would go back to, say, Doctor Strange and Spider-Man doing their thing, and then it would go back to Steve Rogers and Wakanda and Bucky Barnes, and it somehow had so many stories going on that all led to the same place. It was very interesting. The action sequences are great. It's slightly more of a grim movie, and it's coming off of the events of Civil War where the whole team is kind of disconnected, but there's this real big threat that makes them need to come back together. It does have part 1 syndrome, which I like that the film had enough stones to let the good guys lose in the film. I like that a lot. It was enjoyable to see. But obviously it has part 1 syndrome, where in part 2 they're just gonna fix it somehow. That being said, still an S tier movie, easy. Ooh, heavy hitters to begin. Iron Man, easy S tier. Guys, it's Iron Man. It feels like a grounded, simple story. I like the character arc of Tony Stark. I like that he kind of goes from this self-absorbed gazillionaire tech guy, and he starts to think, there was even the quote from the movie, if I'm alive, there must be a reason for it. And he starts to change from self-absorbed gazillionaire to hero. The acting is great. The Marvel universe wasn't so big back then, so you feel like you're in a contained story. It's super fun. It's interesting. I love technology and all that stuff, so that's always fun to see. Excellent film. S tier, easy. Ant-Man. A tier. And by the way, I'm teetering on S tier with Ant-Man. I loved Ant-Man. And I don't know if my expectations were just so low going into it that I'm putting it in A tier. Because it's just such a good, grounded film. It feels small, no pun intended, because it's like ants or something. But it's kind of like a heist movie. It's really funny. I love Paul Rudd. I love Michael Pena. They're very good and comedic without being too breaking the fourth wall or anything like that. They're just naturally funny. All the comedy works, and it's in the plot. The romance is believable. The story, it's fun. It feels small scale. I just enjoyed it a lot. Super great film. Avengers Age of Ultron. Watch your profanity. Man, are we going beer? Nah. We still have to go A with Age of Ultron. One of the issues I have with Age of Ultron is that they're trying to cram so much into it. So it's the fruition of a bad guy. Whereas like in Endgame and Infinity War, Thanos is a bad guy that already kind of existed in the minds of everyone from previous films. And then he's revealed in that film. So he's sort of built upon. So they create Ultron, who's supposed to be the Defender. He obviously goes corrupt. They're adding new superheroes into it. They're trying to bring the old gang back together, and it feels a little bogged down sometimes. Obviously, the action sequences are great. It is the introduction of Scarlet Witch, who's a huge, important character in the rest of the franchise. All in all, I liked it a lot, but, it's no, it's no perfect thing. It's gonna chill in A, which might even be a little gracious, but I liked it a lot. And this is my list, not yours. And my opinion's right and yours is wrong. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Not B. Sorry, my mouse slipped. We're going to go A. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. One thing I didn't like, you know how I was talking about in Avengers Infinity War? how the guys all had their separate stories, but it still felt together. It still felt kind of like everything was leading to the same point, and they were all accomplishing something in particular to help save the day, if you will. In this one, it feels like, oh hey, Peter Quill is reuniting with his father. Hey, the rest of the gang, go F off and go do this heist. Or the weird side stuff with all the golden people. They just kept throwing that stuff kind of in there, and it was obviously so that Peter Quill could just be alone with his dad. Yeah. Honestly, A is still good. It's still funny. The Guardians are a great team. I like Yondu. I think he's kind of, well, I don't know if he's an underrated character in this film. I just haven't heard a lot of opinions on it, but I like Yondu. He's kind of the tortured soul of the film. He's a great character. Yeah, overall solid film. A, but just a few of the things, like all of the F-off side quest stuff and the stuff with the golden people, it was fine, but by no means was it great, and it just kind of made things feel a little more jumbled in it. Next, Black Panther. I'm gonna give this an A. I liked Black Panther because it introduces you to the world of Wakanda in one movie. So remember, Civil War is the first time that we saw Black Panther, but this was a lot of world building, and it was well done. And I like the dynamic between the characters in the movie. I like, first of all, Chadwick Boseman, awesome. I kind of like that they had the stones to just make Michael B. Jordan in the movie an actual villain. Like, he was just pretty vicious, and he was a formidable bad guy. You felt like there was that always ever-present danger. I liked the villain. I liked the world building. Again, you were introduced to Wakanda in this film, and you felt like you really saw so many aspects of it through the film, but it didn't feel like an exposition dump. They just showed you parts of it. They showed you dynamics between characters. They showed you the structure of their royalty there and the different classes within that society. Very, very well done movie. I enjoyed it a lot. Ooh, Civil War. I'm going S. Dude, I only have stuff in S and A? Am I a Marvel shill? Okay, anywhoosum. Civil War. S. One thing I like about Civil War is the bad guy, while the bad guy never feels like a danger, I like his plan. I like that he understands that he cannot actually kill the Avengers, so what does he do? He turns them on themselves. It's a very interesting premise. He obviously, he lets Tony Stark know that Bucky killed his dad, and Captain America being his friend, he's obviously going to defend his friend. Also, he was brainwashed, so Cap understands that too, because Cap's just a good old boy, basically. Anyways, I like that he knows that he can't execute this plan, so he's just going to make them go after each other. Very clever. He obviously has a decent motivation in that his family was killed in Sokovia. I think his family was killed in Sokovia. Gosh, I feel like so many families were just killed in Sokovia, and that's a lot of motivation, but if I'm not mistaken, his family was killed by something the Avengers did, and he wants to destroy them. And the best way to destroy them is to make them destroy themselves. Action sequences are great. It's the introduction of Black Panther. Awesome film. S tier. Captain America, the First Avenger. S tier. Easy. Okay, what do I like about the character of Captain America? They kind of just let him be a good old boy. You think about all of the other characters who are in this, they all have a troubled past. They all have Tony Stark is going from, self-absorbed to blank, to a hero who eventually saves the day in the very end. Spoiler. But Captain America is just a hero who, even though he wasn't physically capable of doing what he was doing, he wasn't, later on in the film that is, even though he wasn't physically capable to be a super soldier, he had the heart of a super soldier. And that is why they took him and put him in this program, because he had the pure heart. He dove on the grenade for his men. He is always doing what is right. He will defend his friends and he will defend the innocent. And then they turn him into the super soldier. I like that concept. The action sequences are obviously great. The film looks great because they went with an older style look to the film, which I like. I think they executed that well. All in all, awesome film. I love it. Oh my gosh, Captain America Winter Soldier. Easy S tier. Bro, I swear I'm a Marvel shill. Only S and A for now. Captain America the Winter Soldier. Best action sequences. I love that they actually did fights that looked good. Bucky Barnes and Steve Rogers on the pavement when they were having their sick knife fight. George St. Pierre versus Captain America on the ship. There were just so many fight scenes that looked so good. The elevator fight scene! How did I forget the elevator fight scene? Everything just looked so awesome in this movie. It was such gritty action. I love that Captain America, who's just always been a company man. He's always been following orders, doing what's right, helping out, the people. But now he can't trust the system that made it possible. Dude, I gotta quit highlighting this B and A. The system is now against him. And he is fighting not only the system, but he's fighting these bad guys Hydra, who are integrated into that system. And it's that cool dynamic of you don't know who you can trust. You don't know who's against you, who's for you. And it creates an intensity to the films. And especially since the film in of itself is so gritty and action-driven, that just works so well in this movie. I love that movie. Boy, it's probably top 5 for me. As you can, I guess there's only 5 options there. Ooh, finally we get something that I do not have a positive opinion on. I'm going to leave Captain Marvel in D for now. It might creep up to C, because there's, fun moments in it. It's fun to see Nick Fury young. Nah, I'm leaving it in D. Whatever. Okay, first of all, doesn't she, kill a bunch of innocent people, and then they sort of never go back and be like, hey, that was whack? They never explored that, and it just makes it feel like, they don't care, almost. And, she never has the trauma of the ramifications. And I get that she was brainwashed and stuff. But dude, for some reason, this movie did not jive with me. Also, another thing is, since she had amnesia... I think I said brainwash earlier. I mean amnesia. What's the difference, though? She had amnesia, so she never just feels like a real character. She is only doing what she's told. Whereas, with Captain America, all of his actions and his decisions come from his inner being. Because he's a good fella. Because he just wants to do what's morally right and protect the innocent. With her, you kind of get this thing where since she has amnesia, she's just like a goldfish, almost. A super powerful goldfish. Yeah, I got problems with this movie. I'm leaving it in D, but we'll leave it at that. Doctor Strange, the first one. Fudge. I'm going A. I'm going to tell you why. Doctor Strange it's definitely an odd film. But what I liked about it, it's like Harry Potter meets Inception. It's just so nuts and visually cool. I love that they took that swing. I thought that Doctor Strange, he was an interesting character. I like that he has an arc, essentially, and maybe that's kind of what I'm docking points for, where he has a similar arc to Tony Stark, where he's obviously successful, he's a great surgeon, he's highly renowned, and he becomes a hero eventually. I like that they exposed him to this whole magical world and realm, because, again, he's in medicine. He is a guy who only understands, I want to say realistic stuff, if you will, because medicine is just so grounded, it's so in practice, and he's exposed to this magical world where things don't fit into his bubble, and he has to work his way into that world. I like the film, visually stunning, I like Benedict Cumberbatch, I love that Mads Mikkelsen is the bad guy. It's teetering on A or B for me. I'm going to leave it an A, because I just personally loved it. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy. Fudge, where'd I put it? Dude, why? Okay. Alright, there we go. Oh my gosh, I accidentally moved Captain Marvel to C. Yeah, we can't make that mistake. Guardians of the Galaxy, easy as. Why is that? So for one, when a film is so good that and I know that, what's his face? Chris Pratt. By the way, people tell me I look like Chris Pratt. They're wrong. I'm way too ugly. Chris Pratt, I know he was in Parks and Rec and a couple of other things before this, but this really put him up to superstardom. Gamora. Oh no, she's from Avatar. Dude, she's got her career set. Good for her. They just brought in a solid actor. Gamora played wonderfully. Obviously a superstar from Avatar. She was established. Bradley Cooper played a raccoon. Vin Diesel played a tree. And then, who else? Dave Bautista. I feel like this also boosted his career really hard. This movie is just so good that it made superstars out of all these people. It was funny. Like, and again, going back to comedy that doesn't just break the fourth wall, comedy that's relevant in the script. You know, you're scripting the people to just be humorous and for situational humor. I love it. That's my favorite kind of humor. The action sequences are awesome. Obviously, you love the dynamic of the team because they're kind of like a broken family, but I just really enjoy their dynamic as a team. Overall, freaking love Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's one of my wife's favorite movies out of the whole series, so 2, just to give my wife a plug. Love you, Esther. Okay, Avengers Endgame. Oh my gosh, I moved Captain Marvel into S. What am I doing? Dude, my mouse is messed up. We're just going to leave her in B for now. Nah, you're going back to D. Okay, Avengers Endgame. What I kind of... Man. You know, Avengers Endgame, it's still an S for me because it's a very well-executed movie, and there's so many, like, cheerable moments. I don't know how many of you watched this in a crowded theater, but the amount of times that we actually just cheered at this movie was awesome. And when a movie can do that for you, it's great. That being said, whenever everybody starts coming back and stuff, you then get this issue where they feel like they need to include every single character. Whereas I feel like they'd have just done fine if they, you know, again, Tony Stark has the biggest moment, obviously. He's like the first person to ever have a movie. Awesome character. One thing I actually kind of hated about this movie is that he's like, oh, Tony, we need to go back in time to save the world. And he's like, let me mull about it for an evening. Oh my gosh, I figured out time travel. When the world? Also, how do I put this delicately? You know, they kind of gave him a cop-out where they're like, even if you go back in time, your daughter is still going to exist. And because of that cop-out, it kind of lessened the stakes. I feel like the stakes of like, hey, half of the world or your daughter. That's a really rough decision, and I feel like they kind of gave him a cop-out there, which, again, I'm not mad. I don't enjoy the thought of children not existing anymore. But, you know, it's just like, I feel like they lessen the stakes there. Because if you go back in time, obviously that kid doesn't exist, so weird situation there. What else? What else do we have here? We have got Iron Man 2. Ooh, I'm putting it in B, which might be, ooh, see? Man, this is rough. It's either B or C for me. For one, I thought the bad guy... Okay, so give me this. His face is completely exposed. He's not wearing a face shield. There's so many security guards at the racetrack course, and he's just got his magnetic arms. Bro, you're telling me Tony Stark is there, and they do not have the security to just shoot the guy in the face? Am I wrong? Did he have some kind of face shield or some hover bubble protecting him? What in the world? All of the security. And they're just what? Like, they're just like pimp holding their gun down there? Never shooting him in the head? Whatever. Beats me. Obviously, it's a very... The action sequences are still good. The ending fights are still good. I like Mickey Rourke. He's a great actor. But, I mean, again, just the character is just being obsessed with his bird, and then the whole Justin Hammer thing. It's just kind of mediocre. I didn't love the film that much, but again, it had things going for it, but it's going to end up in C for me. Iron Man 3. Ooh, our first entry in B. See, now we're getting other entries. See, I'm not a complete Marvel shill. Iron Man 3 in B. I liked it better than Iron Man 2 because one thing that I actually really enjoyed was the sequences where he had his suits destroyed and he kind of went back to the guy in the cave, if you will. He had to go down to his bare bones form. He's been shielded by his technology for so long, but what happens when your technology turns against you or is destroyed? And I just liked to see him. He had to infiltrate the compound of the Mandarin. Now, again, the plot twist is a bit of a... I get that people hated the plot twist, and Killian wasn't as cool of a bad guy as the Mandarin, but still, I thought it was overall pretty fun. I enjoyed Iron Man 3. It did feel a little disconnected from the MCU. Because, like, okay, riddle me this. Iron Man, he is on his own, and he's effed. Bro, why not call Captain... Did he know Captain America by this point? Like, were they buddies yet? Or, like, Hulk or something? Like, his friends are all superheroes. He can't just call one of them up and be like, hey, like, this exploding guy is really giving me trouble. Right? Am I wrong? Whatever. All these superheroes exist and he's kind of on his own, which I thought was a little weird. But, again, great acting. I think Guy Pearce was Killian. Fudge. It's been a while since I've seen it. I actually like it. Right in the middle there for me. Okay. Spider-Man Homecoming. S tier. Now let me... You know what? I'm going to actually just put that in A tier. The reason I'm going to put it in A tier is because I make the silly mistake of comparing it to Tobey Spider-Man's. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Spider-Man Homecoming. I like that they actually made... No, I was going to say Tony Stark. Or I was going to say Tobey Stark. What's his name? Peter Parker. I like how they actually made him feel like a high school kid. Dude, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are not high school kids. I don't know what they're trying to do there. But he actually feels like a high school kid. And you actually have, like, the high school drama stuff. Whereas, like, I feel like in the earlier films, it was just kind of like, yeah, you're a high schooler, and there's, like, what, high school? You get in one high school fight, and then you're, like, the spider guy. Obviously, not trashing those films. Easy S-tier films. But in this one, I feel like it brings a little more of the high school drama in it. You know, you want to get the girl. He's battling between wanting to be a high schooler and fulfill his wishes there versus his call to be a hero. But not only that, the fact that he has to mature a little bit before he can be the hero. And it's a well-constructed film. You feel for him. You feel for him in all the awkward scenes where he has to leave to go save the day and he doesn't get the girl. You feel for him in the embarrassing moments. And again, he just actually feels like he is supposed to. The action sequences are great. The bad guy, he's more of a grounded bad guy in this. Oh, that's ironic because he's a big bird. But he's more of a grounded bad guy because he actually just wants to provide for his family. He was effed by the system, and he is just... And you know, again, criminality is not a place to turn when you're effed with the system, but you kind of feel for him because he just wanted his family to have a good life, and he did go to stealing Stark technology to fulfill that, to make that happen for his family. And, you know, I feel like every bad guy in the MCU now is, I want to destroy the whole world. Like, this is just a very bad, you know, the movie was so fresh. A grounded bad guy. Loved it. A. Man, almost S for me. Avengers S. Dude, you kidding me? Wait, where did I just put Avengers? Avengers. I accidentally just put Avengers with Captain Marvel. That is a travesty. I think I just said Captain Marvel. Avengers. Excellent film. I like that it was still small scale enough to where they all assemble. You actually know who everybody is. Everybody arcs have been well established, and the movies beforehand leading up to it were not confusing. You knew who the characters were. You knew who they were. Yeah, the action sequences are great. Loki is an awesome bad guy. He's so cheeky and lovable. He's just like one of my favorite kinds of bad guy. I love the cheeky, lovable bad guys. But yeah, excellent film. Excellent. I was actually down on this film originally, but my brother-in-law convinced me to rewatch it, and I was like, what was I ever thinking? What the heck? Okay, The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk is going in C or B. I'm going to go with B. So, obviously, this film, Edward Norton apparently was a little tough to deal with, and he had to read over the scripts, and he was given some freedom to go over things, so they didn't have him come back as Hulk. Dude, I think this film is actually really solid. I kind of like The Incredible Hulk. The action sequences are fun. I like Edward Norton in it. I like the backstory. Man, I can't even explain. I'm just sticking it in B. This video's running too long. I like The Incredible Hulk. Oh man, but is it better than Iron Man 2? Yeah, it is. Thor. Dude, we're putting Thor in B. Now, why is Thor in B? I actually really, really like Thor. It has some problems with it. For one, I think that the dynamic between Asgard and Earth is just a little weird. Like, I've never been a big fan of, like, fish out of water comedies where it's just like, oh, it's just this guy and now he's on Earth and he's just being crazy. I feel like in a lot of the movie you also forget that Loki's the bad guy. No, not really. That's stupid. I don't know why I said that. But also, um, is this film an A for me? Like, the film is funny. It has a lot of fun moments. The action sequences are good. It just feels like devoid of oomph. Like, it's not the most memorable film. If I'm talking like, hey, I want to go watch a Marvel film, like, go cue it up. It's not Thor. It's just not Thor for me. Now, again, I love the character of Thor. I think there's a lot of funny moments, but again, just the whole switching between Asgard and Earth, the movie is a little off-put. It is what it is. It's a B for me. Still liked it, though, obviously. All right. Ant-Man and the Wasp. We're sticking it in B for now. So at the time that this film came out, I feel like all of the Marvel films was like, you need to bring a notebook of notes with you because these films are just getting so out of hand that you literally just need to bring notes with you. That being said, this felt like a kind of like a fun heist movie. It was, man, I just really liked it. I can't explain it. The action sequences were fun. As with all the Ant-Man movies, they're funny, they're entertaining. And again, it just, at the time, what was coming out in the Marvel Universe, it just felt really fresh, and it felt kind of like, like a return to something that's not 17 characters from 17 movies fighting in a multiverse or something. I loved it. Excellent film. It's going in B because it does have its own problems. It's kind of a derivative of a lot of the other films, but I still enjoyed it. It's pretty mid for me. Ooh, Thor Ragnarok. Good grief. A or S? I'm going to leave it an A for now, and then we're going to talk about why it might be S. So for one, look, the Thor franchise, it's a bit of a shaky franchise to say the least. Love and Thunder, which isn't on this list, it was just a miss for me. But Thor Ragnarok came around. It was a funny film. I enjoyed it. I thought that the spoiler that they put in the trailer where Hulk is in the fighting arena, that was a little lame. But, man, this film was just so fun. It was so vibrant. It was so exciting. And it just felt really, interesting to watch. I thought Hela was a very compelling and dangerous antagonist. I thought that there were a lot of deep and sentimental moments with him dealing with the death of his father, obviously. That's an A for me. Teetering on S. I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. But there was just, I think that at a certain point, it just got too cheeky, and that there was just, too much comedy, and it felt out of place when it didn't need to be. I love Jeff Goldblum in this movie. He's great. I'm going to leave it at A for now. All right, Thor the Dark World. Dude, what is Thor the Dark World? It's kind of like they tried to do a romance, but they also try to do a planet jumper sci-fi film. What is Malkeith? This is one of those movies that's just so heavily diminished by its villain that it's just you never really felt like anything was interesting about the villain. So you were just kind of trying to follow Thor and his scattered romance with Natalie Portman. Dr. Jane? Was her name Dr. Jane? Doesn't matter. I just felt like, this film was just a miss for me. The plot felt like a mess. It was just jumping around from place to place. The romance even felt weird in it, which was weird because in the first one I kind of bought into the romance. It was fun. It was just a bit of a miss for me. Terrible villain. Terrible villain. We're leaving it in D for now. Sorry, fans of the Dark Elf movie. Spider-Man Far From Home. Okay. I personally love Spider-Man Far From Home, but it has severe issues. For one, Tony Stark left his glasses to a child. These glasses of mass destruction to a child. Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he have left it to, War Machine or something? Or an adult who isn't a kid? Because, that's the thing, is the same things that were fun in... And maybe that's why they did it, is because they were just the glasses would be boring if it was with someone who is just going to be a good soldier and protect the world. And I guess it is more fun if you give it to a kid and just see that dynamic of, again, he's a high schooler, he's just trying to have fun, and, how is that going to affect this huge responsibility that's just been placed on him? Oh, I love Jake Gyllenhaal. He's great in everything. Jake Gyllenhaal is never a miss. But again, he's just another character that's just, oh, we hate Tony Stark, even though he's dead. They're just still going. Everyone's going on about their hatred for Tony Stark, and that's like one of his driving things. Also, I get that he wants to kind of be the hero, which is an interesting premise. Don't get me wrong. I really like the scenery. The CGI, in a weird way, doesn't look out of place in this movie because it's literally a movie about CGI. These drones are CGIing these huge scenes where essentially Jake Gyllenhaal is supposed to be made to look like a big hero, and that's his form of manipulation. But I just can't get back. I can't get past the contrivance of he gave his glasses to a kid. Give it to War Machine. Give it to Captain America. Give it to like anybody else. Why? Whatever. It's in B. I still enjoy the movie. The action sequences are great. Jake Gyllenhaal is great, and yeah. All right, Black Widow. Ooh, is it B or C? You know what? Let's put it in B for now. Maybe I'll talk myself down to. I'll go C. Gosh. The characters in this film were a lot of fun. I like the dynamic between her and her sister. It was, man, I'm just trying to think about, look, this film was one of those things that was ruined by the Marvel committee. Apparently there were so many rewrites where everything just felt so discordant that it was just like, it was a bit of a mess of a film. And you can tell in the third act, which was rewritten so many times, that they just didn't have time to really flesh things out. Or even their VFX. I think we all know the notorious explosion. You know, y'all all know the explosion, the one that looked like junk. And I mean, it's just like when you're rushing a film so hard. And again, a film that was supposed to come out so long ago. Remember, because she's already like dead in the films. She's already dead. And they're now throwing out the movie. Obviously, they're just like, we got to push this out because this has been on the back burner for so long. And you can just really feel it in the movie. It's going C for me. But a lot of fun characters and fun moments in the movie that, keep it out of D for me. Ooh, the Eternals. Okay, I'm going to leave Eternals at D for now. Dude, the Eternals has a lot of problems. For one, too many characters along too many time periods, along too many storylines. It just feels really like bogged down. You feel like no character is complete. You just kind of feel like, how do I put it? Man, what am I going on about? It just feels almost incomplete, and it's not incomplete because like there was bad editing or anything like that. It was more so just the script tried to include so much. It was almost like this needed to be a 4-hour movie to really get everything cohesive and not skip around too much. Man, I almost want to put it in C because really, like they tried hard. They tried really hard in it. And there was obviously a lot of fun moments, good action sequences. I mean, you just kind of can't forgive the fact that there's just been a lot of the bad story, the way the script was. Everything was just so jammed in, and they try to give everybody their moments and their story. I know. Okay. D for me. Shang-Chi. I think Shang-Chi is going to go in B. Or, okay, let me explain why I want to put it in A. Dude, and this is a newfound love. My friend Jack has recently gotten me into Hong Kong cinema. I love Hong Kong cinema. I love that all the fight scenes... Oh my gosh, not all the fight scenes. Hold up. So many of the fight scenes had just such a cool kung fu flair to them and such a Jackie Chan style to them. That bus fight scene in the beginning was one of the great fight scenes of the modern era. Such a great fight scene that was in that bus. I feel like in a lot of the fight scenes later in the movie, I wish that they kind of kept it more grounded. It just became all about CGI dragons and using all of our $200 million budget. Man, it got so bogged down in just CGI and magical stuff. It kind of lost that like, ooh, like wow. Because I rewatched this recently, and I was like, with my newfound love of Hong Kong cinema, this movie moved up like 5-10 spots for me. And then by the end, I just felt like the CGI fatigue. Like Marvel was like, this needs to be a $200 million movie. I just wish they kept it a little more grounded. I wish that the story would just be less magical in a sense. It was more about the kung fu, more about the fighting, choreography, all that. Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home is excellent. S tier for me. One thing that I really liked about this is it brought the arcs of all three Spider-Mans to a close. I feel like especially with the Andrew Garfield one where he wasn't able to save Gwen, and he only got 2 movies. So maybe he would have been given a chance if he got a 3rd movie. But anywho's, that was just awesome. He got to complete his arc. He got to save the girl in the end, which he never got to do. Tobey Maguire, he never really got to save Norman, who was Harry's dad, and that always haunted him. But in that film, he was able to, in No Way Home, he was able to save Norman. Is that his name? The Green Goblin. He was able to save him and give him, I guess, a shot at redemption. And it always haunted him that he had to kill his friend's dad. So he got that resolution. Tom Holland, he was just not mature. He wasn't ready to be the superhero. And through learning forgiveness and through learning, because, his aunt died. And he really learned the stakes, that it's not all fun and games. It's not all the high school things. So he finally, grew up in a sense. One thing that bugged the crap out of me is hey, Doctor Strange, remember we saved the world together? Do this magic for me. And it just seems out of character for Doctor Strange, who, again, one of his arcs in his films is that he had to be the responsible. He was the wielder of so much power that he had to be the responsible magician. And then just on a whim, he does a bunch of magic for a kid and F's everything up, without talking through all the details first. That was a bit much for me. Obviously, the action sequences in this are so good. Some of the best action sequences. The nostalgia bait, awesome. Loved seeing all the old characters. Easy S tier. All right, guys, this is the list. Let me know what you would change. And let me know that I am a Marvel shill. I mean, look at the amount in S and A. Are you kidding me? I'm such a shill. But this is just how I genuinely feel about these. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you would move anything. Is there anything I put in S or A that needs to be in C or D? Is there anything I put in C or D that needs to be in S and A? Let me know. As always, guys, appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I am out of here.